Board of Commissioners meeting. Call it to order at this time, and I'll ask Commissioner Nicola if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for your many blessings you bestow upon us each day. Be with this board today as we conduct matters of business. May you be the source of guidance for our meeting. We pray. Amen.
Captain Wood, how are you this morning? All right, item number 3, recognition of Harnett County EMS workers named North Carolina's top paramedic team for 2024. Mr. Trout, I believe you have some.
Yes, we have in the audience Alex. And Alex, you want to introduce your paramedics that went through this real quick?
Yeah, we have Assistant Chief Jonathan Murphy and District Chief Corey Lane.
All right, we have coin that we'd like to give to each sheriff. If you would
Sure,
do
we'll
the
all
honors.
come up, everybody, I'm sure they're gonna take some pictures of all the commissioners gonna come forward.
All right.
Got everybody? All righty, congratulations. Thank you. I know it's well deserved, y'all work hard at it, thank you for everything you do for the community, and we just wanna wish you the best. All right?
Appreciate it, thank you.
You through this?
Yep, 1, 2, 3.
Sunshine.
Good morning. Okay. Item number 4, discuss a request to approve the application for NCDOT/IMD Micro Transit Feasibility Study Grant. Mr. Blevins.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. This is a little different, so I'll just try to be brief on how it's going to work out as far as applying. The board will approve that. So microtransit is now a growing trend in public transportation across the nation. Essentially what it is Uber or Lyft. So it's on demand. You call and we haul kind of deal, not scheduling. And in some instances, you may schedule a couple hours out. However, you may also, like Lyft, schedule it on an app, and the service comes to you, picks you up. It could either be at door to door, or at a corner, or something of that nature. This study that we'd like to apply for is a 3-year study. It's 100% funded by DOT. Several counties have gone through it. Well-known microtransit system, if you care to take a look at it, is Wilson, North Carolina, who got rid of all their buses and brought microtransit there, and it's really working out well for them for replacement. And the thing about the study is, like again, it's a 3-year study, but the study is fit to your community and make recommendations. And the study may show it's not a good opportunity to do it. However, because it's 3 years long, we want to kind of get in the hopper to get ready for before. And the reasons I'm saying that is the North Harnett Transit study is showing a little bit that microtransit could work in that area of Campo. So I'm not sure that's going to be a recommendation, but we've had discussions back and forth about it. And so having said that, Capital Area MPO is going to endorse our application tomorrow. Their executive committee, Fayetteville Area MPOs, has endorsed our application last week. And of course, our tab is Straw Poll have encouraged us to apply for it. So we will go back to the tab in July to get that resolution done. So again, it's the bottom line is it's an Uber type, Lyft type function. And I will say that anybody that's tried to use Uber in Harnett County, there's not many providers. If you wanted to go to the airport, you can get a ride, but you're not going to. It's going to be hard for you to get back when you get off the plane. So I think it's a good fit in general. I'm not the expert, however, Chance and I have studied it. Chance is much more versed on it. He's studied it with conferences and all those things. So if you have additional questions, we'd like to answer those.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Well, the only thing I would say is my question would be about the availability, and I'm assuming that's one thing this study would reveal for us. And of course, 3 years is a long time, so a lot can change in that length of time. So I think it's a good thing. Would be a good thing for us to embark on.
Okay. Pleasure of the board to put it on the consent agenda. Okay. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Blevins.
Yes, sir.
Looks like you're up next again.
Yes, Mr. Terrain is going to take this one, please.
All right. This is a discuss a request to approve the fiscal year 26 5311 administrative grant pre-application documents as requested by NCDOT.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. I'm here to, this is an application that we apply for every year. It's the NCDOT IMD FY26 Transportation Program 5311 pre-application. We request the Board of Commissioners consider looking and approving the 5311 administration grant pre-application. The anticipated allocated amount for FY26 administrative allocation is $400,312 with a 15% local match. Again, this is a grant that we apply for every year. Any questions on the 5311?
So I'm assuming we have the match budgeted to be able to take care of that if we are awarded this grant.
Yes, sir.
How much would the match be?
It'll be $60,048.
All right. Pleasure of the board to put it on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk. Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All
right, discuss a proposed text amendment, case plan 2401-66, applicant Harrington Companies LLC, Harnett County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 5, so on and so forth.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Arbor, Harnett County Development Services. Bringing before you this morning a text amendment which has been revised for the board to per their request to establish a minimum lot size as a use regulation for the outdoor flea markets to be allowed as a permittable special use in 3 of the residential zoning districts. In order to address this request, staff has added letter F to the use regulations list, which reads that all outdoor flea markets shall be located on a minimum of 10 acres of contiguous land. At the May 6th Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board voted 4-0 to recommend approval of the revised text as written by staff.
Okay.
Okay.
We've been down this road before with this one, so is it a pleasure of the board to put it on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Item number 7, discussing a request to extend the contract with Avisboro Battlefield Commission.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. So this is not something that I have none of the funding I've ever worked with. So just, what's the word? Not caveat, just a disclaimer there. Before I even arrived to the county, out of the commissioners, the commissioners approved granting $100,000 to Averysboro Battlefield Commission in 2022. So they received this in, let's see, on September 6, 2022 was when this contract was approved, and the funding was supposed to be utilized by this June 30th of this year, 2024. So per the terms of this contract, through a written request and approval by the Board of Commissioners, the award term period can be extended by the Grant County Board of Commissioners. So before you today is a request to extend this grant contract, allow them one more year to spend this $100,000. And I'm available for any further questions if you have any.
Any questions from Ms. Fouts?
Did you say that the commissioners approved this grant?
That's correct.
So all you're asking for is an additional 12 months to finish spending the money.
That's correct.
Okay.
Move we put it on the consent agenda.
Okay. Put it on consent agenda,
Thank you.
Madam Clerk. Thank you, Ms. Fountain. Item number 8, discuss a request to approve a lease for probation and parole. Mr. Spell?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. As required by statute, we have to house or provide a space for the probation and parole for the state. Since 2018, we have been leasing the building located at 107 East Broad Street in Dunn, North Carolina. And we renewed that, which is due to expire at the end of this fiscal year. So we are proposing another 3-year lease to lease that building. We're going to want to continue to lease that building until such time that we can move them into a county-owned building, but we're just not there yet. The space needs study identified that as an item that we need to gain space, but just not there yet. So requesting this 3-year lease. Year 1 would be $5,250 per month. Year 2 would move up to $5,775, and in year 3 would be $6,352 per month. So we'd just be asking to approve this lease for the next 3 years.
Can I ask the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Are these the employees that we have plans to move to the top building over here at Social Service?
No, these are state employees for probation and parole. I'm not sure if we've identified where we want to at some point go. I know the space needs study was looking at various options.
According to the space needs study, we would build a new health department building in front of the parking lot that where the health department is currently located. The health department would move out of their current building, and probation and parole would be moving into the old health department building as their location if you follow the space needs study recommendations. Now, that obviously can be changed. Things can change. Other spaces can become available, but that is how we proposed in the future to accommodate them. Right now, there's not a large enough space in any of our current buildings to move them to a new building or a different building.
Are you talking about the health?
Well, in order to make space for them, you would need to build an additional building. So the way it was proposed is that, and the space needs study was that a new building would be built for the health department in order to facilitate them moving and allowing space to open up. And it would open up for multiple departments, would then be able to move into that building. And that's in the long-range plan. So we're not talking any time in the next 3 to 5 years that would be considered. It's in the long-range plan.
So in this plan, you do take under consideration of parking?
Yes. There's additional parking that's added behind the health department building for the employees and so forth, and then additional parking that's created over by DSS.
Where is that the only probation and parole office we have in the county now?
Yes.
We have a juvenile one here in Lillington.
Right. But for the adult probation, this is.
Yeah, for adult probation.
Yes, sir.
Well, since '87, when I started here, they have been the red-headed stepchild, so to speak. And they've never been in a county building, and it's always been here and yonder and whatnot. And and I realize this is not your fault, Mr. Bell, but why shouldn't they be centrally located somewhere here in the county?
And I know that is the goal,
Yes.
to bring back here, because as you recall, before we rented this building in Dunn, they were renting the space up here in downtown Lillington. That building just wasn't meeting the needs. It was not
Well,
the best
they've
condition.
always had a branch office in Dunn. It's been there for as long as I can remember. Miss Barefoot manned it for years and years and years. But we still need one to serve the rest of the county
Right.
in Lillington. And that may be something that we have to address, but it's,
Discuss.
It has been discussed, we just haven't come up with a sort of a plan as to where we're gonna move them, but this has been discussed for years. But I thank God that we got them out of that building right here in Littleton, because that building in Littleton was so bad, it was about to fall in.
down there across from the old courthouse.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it was.
right there.
But anyhow, the question today is, do we rent Bitteray's building for another term here to buy some time? And that's what Mr. Pell's asking. Is it the consent of the board to pursue that?
We don't have any other option, I think, so yes.
And if this is moved up, there is a provision in here that we can give a 6 months notice without cause to terminate. So if this was to be moved up, so we can get out, we're not locked into 3 years, but it's just negotiating a 3 year, up to 3
Fine,
years.
and that's no reflection on the landlord. It's just, this problem's been kicked down the road over and over and over again. We need to address it, and I realize it's not your fault either.
Yes, sir.
Anyhow, put on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk? Okay, item number 9, discuss a request to adopt the S-6 2023 supplement to the Code of Ordinances. Madam Clerk, I believe that one's yours.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. American Legal Publishing has completed the supplement to the Code of Ordinances. It contains all ordinances adopted from January of '23 through December of '23. And I just request that the board place this on the next consent agenda and adopt the ordinance adopting the supplement to the Code of Ordinances.
Move to put it on the consent agenda for approval.
Okay. Put on consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
All right, number 10, discuss nonprofit committee bylaws and policies. Thomas?
Good morning. The direction that that the administration had received was to go back and take a look at the Harnett County policy for funding nonprofits and bylaws. And so Brent and I, we've met a few times, and based on best practices we've observed in other locations, as well as just cleaning up some of the bylaw language based on things that have happened since we've last taken a look at this. This is what we're presenting today. And we are here to request an approval of the updated bylaws and policy. If we could look at the bylaws first, that would be probably quickest. The only thing that was required to be changed was when we started receiving federal and state funds through COVID-19 relief, there was a requirement implemented to have a countywide policy on conflict of interest, which was adopted a few years back. Going through the nonprofit funding committee, they had their own conflict of interest policy and agreement. So what we decided to do was strike that and just reference everything back to the countywide policy that y'all have adopted. So that was the only change that was made to the bylaws for this particular committee. Most of the substantive changes that we took a look at to address concerns that were raised took place in the policy. If you would draw your attention to the 4th section on eligibility, we took a look at other locations and what their best practices were, as well as we drew on Mr. Trout's experience in other previous stops where they had a similar committee. And we looked to try to revamp this to make it a little clearer on what the eligibility requirements were, as well as give examples of essentially when we would not be funding certain certain projects. So taking a look at that, it's always been a requirement that the organization be a 501c3 and be registered with the state of North Carolina. We just wanted to enumerate that, make that clear. In the past, we've had that listed in the application. So we just figured draw everything from all sources, just bring it all in one place. So it's just one-stop shop. All you have to do is look here on this sheet of paper and determine whether your organization would be eligible or not. Following along, when it comes to religious entities and churches, as well as for-profit entities, we can fund those provided that they are meeting a public purpose and as required by the state of North Carolina. And there's a robust body of case law that discusses that. So we just wanted to make that clear that, as always, religious entities would be considered. We just need to make sure it meets the public purpose and it's not for any particular religious entity or group that the funding is going towards.
You're saying that religious churches and organizations can be funded?
Yes, ma'am.
Was this in the previous agreement? I don't remember that.
So previously, we did allow it. The language was not in there. We just pretty much said it had to meet the public purpose criteria. So we just decided to enumerate it a little bit more to kind of eliminate some of those questions of, does that mean a religious organization or not? Essentially, it means any organization that would meet the public purpose requirements. So we just wanted to put that in there to alleviate any of those questions going
I
forward.
don't remember the religious entities being in that.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
I don't remember the religious entities being included in those dialogues.
Well, I believe it was the last round that we funded. There were some religious organizations that received money for food pantry and hunger relief outreach.
That I don't have a problem with that.
And that's pretty much what we're talking about.
Okay, but I just want it clearly understood because I know it can open up a can of worms.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And as you've seen before, it has opened up a can of worms.
Yes.
So I mean, what we're not talking about is funding a church to put a new roof over the sanctuary. We wouldn't be doing that. It would be for those outreaches where we want to do a food drive or a vaccination clinic. Things like that is what would be allowable uses under this policy.
Okay, I got you.
Furthermore, we want to make it explicit that the organizations that receive money fund Harnett County and Harnett County citizens. In the past, we've received requests from organizations where the funding kind of maybe does mostly everything in Harnett County, but a little bit in Lee County. So we just want to make sure that it's clear that if you're that type of organization, that it's earmarked, that 100% of what you receive goes towards Harnett County citizens and trying to make life better for Harnett County citizens. Finally, we just have the statement that typically we would just have them sign on the previous application, just saying that organizations can't discriminate on the basis of, race, origin, age, ethnicity, gender, physical ability, political affiliation, religious beliefs, so on and so forth. Finally, we wanted to go ahead and add a section just saying which organizations we would not be funding. And if you look at that list, essentially, we wouldn't be funding anything that's a capital campaign or an improvement such as adding a roof onto a sanctuary. Political activities or lobbying, that's barred by state law. Activities that are restricted to members of a particular faith community, which I believe addresses your concern, Commissioner McCoy. We wouldn't support the general operating expenses of an organization. We want this to go towards a program that makes the citizens' lives better. This would not be treated as a loan. The reimbursement of the cost, we wouldn't reimburse any costs that occurred prior to the start of the fiscal cycle for which the funding was granted. So you couldn't come to us saying, hey, we have this great program, we did it last year, we would just like to receive some money for what we've already done. This is forward-looking. Finally, this wouldn't be a benefit to named direct individuals. It would have to be, a larger programmatic organizational activity. And then we would not allow any of those organizations to turn around and award that money out to a third party as a subaward. Kind of to echo that, as you look at the application criteria under procedures, we've added a couple of sections where we just want to make sure we make it clear. These were all things that were included in the application in the past, but we just want to make it clear under the application criteria that You have to provide proof of your 501c3 status, and proof of your solicitation license, as well as your W-9 from the IRS. And that as you're filling out your application, you need to state your specific goals for the funds. And that is pretty much all we've done. As you can see, a lot of it, as I've mentioned, was included in the application, but we just want to put it all in one place, so this can almost be used as a cheat sheet for organizations as they are reviewing it, to just go along and check to make sure they're including everything that they can, and that the program that they're seeking funds for complies with our hopes and aspirations for what these funds can be used for the citizens of Harnett County. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I think you've done a great job here, especially that we're making it very clear that they must have a 501c3 in order to get funds and all, because we must stay in compliance with the rules and regulations of the laws.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Roy? All right. Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
You're on the agenda.
I would personally like an opportunity to review these documents, and we'll put it on a separate line item for next week if that's,
I agree with that.
because there's a lot here to comprehend. I'd like to sit down and read it cover to cover.
Well, they're much different than the bylaws we already had.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just, all right, so it's the pleasure of the board to put it on for next week. Clerk, separate line item next week, please. All righty. Item number 11, discuss a request from North Carolina Department of Transportation for a resolution of support for a safety improvement project on Rural Paved Road 1121, which is Ray Road.
Thank you, Chairman. This letter of request came to us from the DOT. They have a project that they're pursuing funding for at these locations, and they're very interested in having a letter of support from us in order to move that project forward. It carries weight. They want to see the local support for those projects, and they seem very worthwhile as projects to improve safety in that neighborhood, in that area.
Jim? All right, any further discussion? Not, put it on the consent agenda for next week. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, item number 12, discussing a request for approval to write off for the calendar of 2023 in the amount of $206,000 and change. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Our auditor suggests that we come to the board to have write-offs taken off our books annually, so that's what I'm before you this morning about. So this is for all of last year, 2023. I will say that these write-offs are a little higher, the amount, simply because if you remember, at the end of last year, we did away with dry tap fees or availability fees. So some of these accounts include those accounts that are being written off. That's why the amount's a little bit higher. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have about this process.
I'm sure the other ones y'all have expanded all your, or recent availability of trying to collect it.
Yes, and then these are, again, these are older than 3 years. So there's still some lingering dry tap fees out there. And these are written off our books, so they don't show up in our collectibles or uncollectibles. But what happens is they still get transferred to debt set-off. So if somebody, there's opportunities to recoup some of these funds in the future going forward.
Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Ward?
Agenda.
Put it on the consent agenda? Put it on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Ward. All right, discuss Harnett Regional Water Capital Improvements Project. Mr. Ward.
All right, thank you again. Wanted to come before you this morning. As you are aware, every year as part of the budget process, we submit our departmental CIP to the board to include in that budget document. This document is part of the recommended budget changes for next fiscal year that are currently online. There have been a few tweaks to that, so with the board's concurrence, we'll change that after discussing this this morning. But I wanted to go over those projects with you quickly and just update you on some of the changes going forward. So let me go here. I want to talk briefly about just quickly on our recently completed capital projects. We recently replaced all of our meters with smart meters, so we don't do any more manual reads. We don't have guys going out in trucks, ladies going out to manually read meters anymore. Some people think that's strange. We get calls still saying, well, nobody's came by to read my meter. How are you sending me a bill? Well, we've sent them information. Customers updated through their water bills and other stuff. They had just hadn't taken time to read that stuff. But so anyway, the way that happens is, there's a radio transmitter inside the meter. It sends a signal to an antenna that we have on top of our water towers. We've got about 20 tanks out there throughout the county with those towers on them, so we've got great coverage. So we get those reads all the time. And so that's how that works. The project also consisted of a customer portal system, which we've updated customers on through mailings and website and email and that sort of stuff, where you can go in and manage your account, see what your water usage is daily. If you have a suspected leak, you can actually go back to that time and try to figure out where the leak happened. All sorts of things. So it puts a lot more control in customers' hands. You can determine what your usage should be, and it'll send you a text alert if you go over that. Stuff like that. So we're really, really high on the customer portal, and we're trying to encourage more and more citizens and customers to take advantage of that process. So that project was about $16 million. Again, but we're saving money every day, even in our capital improvements within our budget this year. We don't have to buy nearly as many trucks. We're not spending nearly as much on gas. We didn't, some of the people that we had in meter reading, we transitioned them into other jobs where we desperately needed staff, so they're not out reading meters anymore, that sort of thing. So we think that this project will pay dividends forever for the county. Ongoing projects, we've talked about the big one is the wastewater treatment plant here in Lillington, the North Harnett plant, which is construction of an additional 9 million gallons at the plant. Will bring the total plant capacity to 16.5 million. This is a regional joint project. Keep in mind, the plant serves Anger, Lillington, Fuquay, Varina, and the county. So project cost is about $111 million. Estimated completion date is a couple of years away in FY27 at a minimum. Construction just began in earnest a couple months ago, and I'll show you some pictures of kind of what's happened out at the site a little bit later in the presentation here. The other project that we just got good news about is the Southwest Wastewater Pump Station in Force Main. That's also the project we've been discussing, where we're going to upgrade the conveyance system and build a 20-inch force main from the 87 corridor back down. We've got a large pump station there on Melody Lane near the Walmart. We're going to upgrade that. We're going to come down that same side of the road of 87 that Walmart's on, come down to Spring Lake, and then come over to Manchester Road and tie into the existing force main there that we have that serves Fort Bragg. That'll open up that corridor to more growth along the Highway 87 corridor and that whole southwest area of the county. So again, project cost about $9 million. We just got the permit last week. So I'll be coming back to you shortly with bids to go forward with that project, and we will look forward to it. It should not be, hopefully, a long project. We should be able to get it built in a year, year and a half max. So you'll be seeing more about that project going forward. The other project is which is unfortunately still ongoing, is the Northwest Harnett Utility Extension Project. This is where the county ran water and sewer to the new Northwest Harnett Elementary School. The water portion of that has been finished. We are still pumping and hauling the wastewater for the school simply because we had a couple of issues out there. We had supply chain issues, delays in getting the pump station. We've got that. The pump station's there on site at the school. Unfortunately, the sewer line contractor that area is just resolute with rock. There's rock everywhere in that part of the county. So in that part of the digging, they found rock. They're having to do some blasting to put the sewer line in. So that slowed that down some, but it is still moving forward, and we hopefully can have that complete here by the fall. Project estimate cost is about $2.4 million. These are pictures from the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. I thought this was kind of a neat picture that I got from the contractor. It shows you a photo here of the existing plant site with an overlay of what's going where. So you can kind of see where the new basins are going back toward the right of that picture. And then that lagoon there that you see in the middle, most of that lagoon will be filled in. There'll be filters kept on the portion closest to the existing plant. But I thought that was kind of neat just to show you the scale of the project moving forward. This is a drone photo from if you're coming up Prison Camp Road and coming back toward Lillington, you can see the plant site from the south there coming forward. And you can see the plant up there. In the top left-hand corner would be the road, Edwards Brothers Drive, you know, going back toward the old Sheriff's Department and toward Prison Camp Road, Ross Road, McNeil Street, whatever you want to call it. And then you can see where we had trees planted below that property there in the line, and you can see where the contractor had started burning off some of those trees and clearing that site out there as well. And just to the left of that photo, you can see where they've set up their trailers there. This photo was taken in early April. Here's the site a couple of weeks ago. So they've completely cleared out all those trees. You can see how open it is now, and they put in a storm pond back in the middle of that thing closest to the river there as they begin that construction moving forward. Okay. So again, projects with design and construction planned in the coming year. First, I'm going to talk about some projects specific to Erwin that we've talked about. We haven't talked a whole lot about this one, but back when ARPA funds were first being administered back in 2021, et cetera, the town of Erwin asked for some funds specifically for water and sewer. There had already been an initial award to the county for our project here at North Harnett at the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. But in the subsequent funding back in 2022, Erwin was awarded $1 million, which is really problematic because Erwin doesn't have a water and sewer system. So the county called me 6 months ago and said, hey, Steve, you know, we messed up here, or not the county, the state, excuse me, called and said, hey, this should have been awarded to HRW so you can administer the money and do the project. So we worked with Erwin to determine where to do this at, and we jointly decided with Erwin's board to go forward on a project here on St. Matthews Road, which is beside Lowe's, roughly out on 421, a little back toward Lillington. And so that's construction of approximately 2,700 feet of 8-inch water line, 300 feet of 18-inch gravity sewer in Irwin. Estimated cost is $1 million. And again, those are ARPA funds. And so I spoke with Ally about that. That's going to be part that the county helps administer as well. So I'll be coming back to the board shortly to try to, introduce a project ordinance and an engineering contract. We basically have that ready to go. We're just waiting on NCDEQ to sign off on that project funding. This has to be bid prior to before the end of this year to meet those ARPA deadlines. So this one is a rush. So again, as soon as we get approval back from DEQ, we will move forward with that project.
Some of those delays, builder changed engineers, didn't he?
That's exactly right.
There was nothing on y'all is what I'm saying.
That's correct. So, and part of what was initially thought the money could be used for inside the development kind of had to be shifted outside the development a little bit, but it's in that same general vicinity. So it'll help all the future development in that area in Irwin. The next project is the Old Hamilton Road Water Extension Project. The board approved this separate project back a couple of months ago. We've been getting cost estimates updated and engineering estimates to do this. Again, this is construction of approximately 12,000 linear feet of 8-inch water line along Old Hamilton and Antioch Church Road outside of Irwin. Estimated cost is $1.6 million with funding coming from HRW. So again, I'll be coming back to the board with a project ordinance and an engineering contract within the next few weeks. I've got the engineering contract and the cost estimate, so I can even come to the board at the same time with those two projects. The next one is also in Irwin. That is the Downtown Irwin Water Services Project. We talked about some water quality issues in downtown in Irwin because specifically on East H Street, because those are fed from a line that is behind those buildings that's been there for probably 75 years or so. So we want to replace that and change those 7 services out to in front of the building where there's an existing 12-inch water line out on East H Street. That will allow those businesses to get the water from that line. There's a lot more flow on that line. There shouldn't be any water quality issues once this service transfer happens. The sticky part of this is internal plumbing will need to be retrofitted at those businesses because all their plumbing goes out to the back. So estimated cost of the project is $550,000 with funding coming from HRW. Again, we've got an engineering contract in place. I'm working on a project ordinance to come to the board with so bidding can begin. So the county will reimburse those businesses for some of that plumbing retrofitting they've got to do there or credit them. We've got to work out that detail, but I should be coming back to the board very shortly with that as well.
Also, I don't know if it's made it to your attention or not, but there's a fire suppression line runs up the back of those buildings too that all the sprinkler systems. It's a separate line.
Right.
It's tied in under 12th Street is my understanding.
Okay.
But it runs right along the back of the buildings too, so we'll have to figure out a way to deal with that. But.
Yeah, and fire suppression shouldn't fall under the same guidelines as far as. And
it may be leave it like.
I think that'll be okay, Commissioner Morris, but I'll check that out and see what we need to do.
I just want to make sure you are aware of it.
Okay, all right, no problem, thank you. Wet distribution upgrade project is, I've spoken to the board briefly about this joint project with Holly Springs. When we initially sold water or started our supply contract with Holly Springs years ago, they bought 10 million, they own 10 million gallons worth of capacity in the water treatment plant. we're only able to deliver them about 5 million of that. And so we had it in that initial contract when their supply needs got to a certain point, we would jointly go forward and upgrade our system to move more water so they could get their whole 10 million to Holly Springs. This project will accomplish that. The good thing for HRW is it consists of a 1 million gallon elevated water tank on Highway 401 just outside of Lillington, and a booster station there as well. And so we're able also to leverage that for more water supply and pressure for our citizens in the northern part of the county. So estimated cost of the project is $22 million. Approximately $17.5 million is provided by Holly Springs. The remainder will come from HRW, and we're currently waiting on legal.
John's amended it with Holly Springs.
Okay, we've been talking back and forth with their lawyers about the contract in order to amend the existing contract going forward. So you'll hear more about that project too. Again, that should be able to get started in 24, 25. Everything's designed. Engineer is who's been working on this project. We already have a preliminary engineering report, so we've been working with Holly Springs pretty closely on this for the last couple of years.
When's the anticipated completion?
If I had to guess, Commissioner Weatherspoon, I would say probably early 2027. Holly Springs probably would like that sooner with all the industry they're getting and continue to get. And so their water usage has really ramped up in the last few years. They've also entered into a separate contract with Sanford now to get more water. So anyway, they're growing quickly, as is northern Harnett County. Planned projects through 2027, and our CIP goes out 10 years. I'm not going to go through all those projects, but I just wanted to give you an update on the projects that we foresee in the next 2 to 3 years going forward. The Buies Creek Coates Captain Collection System Upgrade Project. This project consists of various wastewater pump stations, force mains, and gravity sewer improvements from Coates to Buies Creek. The original Coates to Buies Creek transmission system was built 40 years ago. So Coates continues to grow. They need more wastewater capacity. Again, the county owns the sewer system in Coates. It's kind of unusual. Coates owns its water system. They buy water from the county, but the county owns the sewer system. So we work together with Coates. This project will improve, upgrade the force main from Coates and pump stations in Coates. It'll also upgrade some gravity and force mains through Buies Creek and get that back down to the new planned Capeton development, which again, we're going to leverage with them as the developer develops that project. It just makes sense for us to work together to upgrade some of their existing development, infrastructure development in Capeton. That's such a huge project, and we'll play a role in that. The good thing about this is that this is going to be funded through a Session Law 2023 grant of $10.7 million. Again, that's not ARPA funding. The only time that's rolled into ARPA is if you combine it with an ARPA project, then it takes on ARPA characteristics. But this is not, so we have more time to design and bid this project. And we need to. We need to do this one right. It has so many implications for the central part of the county and sewer development in Buies Creek, Coates, and basically just north of Lillington. That whole area is going to continue to grow eastward. And so we're going to do a preliminary engineering report on this, and before I come back to you with a project ordinance moving forward. Another project that we've talked about, again, critically important, is the Northeast Harnett Regional Water Treatment Plant project. Again, the county HRW is planning on building an 8 to 10 million gallon water plant in Irwin. Estimated cost is approximately $120 million. It is planned to be funded from a variety of debt reserves and regional entity participation. It is slated to begin in FY 2027. Still a lot of question marks here about what's going to happen. A lot of that will be determined by DEQ. Just to update you, DEQ, when Sanford agreed to upgrade their water plant, the state looked at the water capacity in the Middle Cape Fear region here, and they basically said here in Lillington, you're not going to be able to expand your existing plant beyond 42 MGD. Not going to be able to draw any more water out of the river here in Lillington at that site. So that's another reason to look in Irwin for this. So again, they're doing a long-range model of the Cape Fear to make some of these. Again, that's not set in stone yet. We haven't received a specific revised what's called 7Q10 or withdrawal rate from the river here in Lillington, but in talking with officials, I'm pretty sure what that's going to be. So again, I don't see any way to expand the plant here, so we need an alternate site. That's why we're looking at this project. And the other thing is just to offset what this plant can be used for as we need more and more water in the northwest part of the county and in other areas of the county west of Lillington going forward. So this plant will provide that. Again, it's pretty up in the air about what will happen going forward. If you're interested in looking at long-range water and sewer planning, the state, the legislature had the state go out and contract with Withers and Ravenel and Hazen and Sawyer, and they did a study about the 421 corridor and industrial growth, planned industrial growth and infrastructure along that corridor. And a lot of this was in kind of conjunction with the planned interstate coming down from Greensboro. You've heard about some of that. You know, the latest thing, the first route I think was that it was just going to simply follow 421 with the from Greensboro down to Dunn to make a connection to I-95. But some of that, always the hindrance with that was the 2-lane from Lillington to Sanford. That was really the hang up. Now I think they're looking at just when they get to Sanford, just jumping on 87 because that's already 4-laned and making that the interstate and not worrying about 4-laning from Lillington to Sanford, which I hate. But anyway, I think that could do tremendous things for the county if they would 4-lane that road. But because everything is sort of connected, Sanford is really interconnected with just about everything now. Going forward, whether that's Greensboro or the Triangle or south to Fayetteville or whatever. And so, but anyway, as part of that study, it gives a comprehensive overview of planning, water and sewer planning in our area, from Sanford down to Dunn, even looks at Pittsburgh and Chatham County, and even goes into Johnston County some. And so it is it's a long read, but it's an interesting one about what was said about utility planning. And I would like to brag. It did say that Harnett County was more prepared than almost any of the other utilities. I think that's good and bad. Part of the good part is we did do a lot of planning, and we do have some excess capacity utility-wise. The con side of that is maybe our industrial growth and stuff has not, it's not the same as it is in Lee and Chatham is seeing and those sorts of areas. So once that happens, though, it won't take long for us to be behind the 8 ball too, as far as excess capacity and planning. So that's why it's important for us to continue to plan and prepare for that growth, because I promise you, it's coming. It's coming, it's just a matter of time. So again, we're looking forward to that project. We've got to get some answers back from the state, but there's a lot of regional interest as always because of the Cape Fear River, we're kind of in the catbird seat when it comes to water supply. So we're lucky in that respect. This is an overview of our 10-year CIP. And again, I went through most of the first couple, three years there, whatever, of what those projects are. And as you can see, most of them are front-loaded. I would call the board's attention to, the planned funding of these projects. For example, just in this year, we're planning on spending about $40+ million of HRW reserves just in the projects planned for 24-25. So that's significant moving forward. And we're not asking for a rate increase or anything like that in the budget. So again, a lot of projects, a lot of money. Hopefully more funding will come down from the federal level. When I talked to our representatives, I hadn't heard a lot of promise on that respect. Hopefully that'll change because there's just a lot of things up in the air when it comes to water and sewer and infrastructure funding. I do think that they're being prioritized now. Maybe in the past they weren't, but people are realizing, hey, without clean drinking water and availability to sewer infrastructure, we're never going to meet the demands of a growing citizens base, of a needed industrial base to provide good jobs to our citizens. So again, hopefully that will take place. But I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about anything moving forward.
Maybe I'm confusing it with something else, but weren't y'all planning on buying a tract beside the Shady Grove Church Road plant?
Yes, we still are.
Is it in here somewhere? Or
No, it's not. That wouldn't be a project, Chairman Morris. That would just be a separate outlay where we would just
I
pay.
heard about it, and that's why I was.
Yes, there's what the chairman is speaking of is there's a development. I think it's about a 50 or 100 acre development. They're planned beside our plant, the South Harnett plant on Shady Grove Road. The developer came to us and said, hey, do you guys want a buffer or 10 or so acres of that property, which is a good idea for us to buffer the plant between that planned residential development. So that is something that we're planning on doing. I'll come back before the board once we get that started in earnest to try to do that. Because if we want to expand that plant, that's the only way to expand, because we've got pretty much all the property the other way, going the other direction and toward the river that we can have. So again, and we want to make some improvements in that plant too. And hopefully Fort Bragg is telling us they've got some resiliency money that they need to spend, federal dollars. So again, that's another thing that the county needs to look at going forward. And with federal help, maybe we can make that happen in quick economic fashion to our benefit.
Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Ward?
I have a question. With all the water projects you have, water and sewer projects in Airway, is then I'm going to pull back to the area that I spoke to you about some months last year, Antioch Church area, back over in that area. Is any of that, are those pipes coming back, are lines coming back through that area, or are you moving forward just in the area, urban area?
Do you mean, when you say Antioch Church area, do you mean between Bowie's Creek and Irwin?
Yeah, between Bowie's Creek and Irwin, and near that, there, between Bowie's Creek and Irwin and the airport there.
Again, we've got a force main on 421, but everything is going to come down from Coast to Bowie's Creek. There is no planned sewer development along 421 back between Irwin and Bowie's Creek.
Okay.
There's just been not enough demand. There's There's not a lot of residences there along that. I think some of that may change.
But that is changing now, because there's a lot of development over there in that area.
Right,
And that's the reason I'm asking the question.
right.
Okay, anything else from the board? Okay, so, thank you.
Thank you. And I will be submitting these changes so it can get put on the recommended budget approval and be part of the budget packet. Thank you.
We've covered so much here, do we need to put this on the consent agenda, or is it just for information?
It'll be part of the budget.
Okay, good enough. All right, we'll move on to number 14. Discuss fiscal year 24-25 recommended budget.
Good morning. So last week Brent presented the recommended budget, and this morning I'm just going to go into it in a little bit more detail. And if you have any questions as we go through this, feel free to ask. But I've got a list of discussion items at the end that have been brought up by a few of you, and then we'll go through them. So overall, our general fund budget is $173,542,146. Sorry. Harnett Regional Waters is $47,108,000, and solid waste is a little more than $8.8 million. On page 24, you'll find a summary of the general fund budget, and it's broken down into the revenues and the expenditures, and you can see that it's grown about 3% since last year. And on this graph, it just shows where our property taxes go, and the top three categories are public safety, human services, and education. On page 25, this shows the general fund's projected revenues for next fiscal year. And this is just a graph of where our revenues come from, and about 70% of it comes from ad valorem taxes and sales tax. So when we start, we use appropriated fund balance to help balance the budget because our expenses are always more than our projected revenues. And so this year we have appropriated $6,567,772, which is about 1.16 less than what we appropriated last year. But the good news is what we had appropriated last year, the $7.7 million, we're not expected to use that. And in the recommended budget, we're not recommending a tax rate increase. We're recommending to leave it at 59.1 cents. But if the board chooses to increase it, 1 penny would generate $1,459,478. When we start working on our budget, we just want to make sure that we are complying with all our rules, regulations, and policies. We also want to make sure that we're maintaining our existing level of services for our residents. And when we decide to fund something new, that it's going to focus on meeting our most critical needs. Our recommended budget also includes a 3% cost of living, continues the 1.5% merit pay for our employees. And this year, we're also looking at a retirement rate increase of 0.95% for our law enforcement and 0.7% for all the other employees, and a 3% increase in health insurance. The recommended budget also requests 7 full-time positions in the following departments: animal control, building inspections, cooperative extension, emergency management, facilities, hearts, and tax. It's also requesting 9 full-time positions in Harnett Regional Water, and 8 of these positions are either in the water treatment plant or the wastewater treatment plant. Oops, sorry. We're also looking at reclassifying 12 positions, and those are the positions that have changed in duties or responsibilities. And those are in Board of Elections, Facilities, Fleet Maintenance, GIS, Human Resources, the Library, the Sheriff's Office, Tax, and Workforce Development. And as we go through the departmental expansion request, if you see something that's got an asterisk beside it, those are the expansions that we're requesting to use supplanted ARPA funds, because most of these are one-time items.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Are these in addition to the unfilled vacant positions from last year?
These are new positions.
These are new,
Yes, these are
completely,
brand-new
totally new.
positions, yes. So in the library, we'd like to implement an early literacy program and to renovate the Coates Branch Library and to purchase some new furniture in the Dunn Branch Library and new furniture at the Irwin Branch Library. For Parks and Recreation is to replace a service vehicle and to purchase a new utility vehicle, expand Parks and Recreation programs such as instructor-led classes, clinics, and camps, and to design a new Harnett County Parks logo, to replace the mulch at the government complex, and to provide funding for the Boys and Girls Club. For administration, we would like to continue funding the management analyst position. For Board of Elections is to increase the election worker pay by $12.50 per day, and to host an election worker appreciation event, and that's going to be after the general election this fall. The budget also recommends placing 2 water heaters at the health department. For fleet maintenance is to replace the automotive lift at the county garage, to allocate funds in the continuation budget for nonprofit organizations. In human resources is to create and implement a management leadership academy for county employees and to provide an on-site customer service training program. For information technology is to implement a website management software. In the education division for Central Carolina Community College, we're recommending a little more than $184,000 in their increase for operating and capital needs, which is about a 10% increase over last year. And with those funds, they plan to hire a full-time security officer for the Harnett campus, to replace a boiler and related hot water piping, and to paint the interior of the Mariello building. For Harnett County Schools, the budget recommends an increase of $2.5 million, and again, that's about a 10% increase over last fiscal year as well. And to continue funding the $1.4 million for maintenance projects, which is in the CIP, and a little more than $1 million for their capital outlay items. Some of the current projects or upcoming projects for Harnett County Schools that are identified in the CIP are the Flatwoods Middle School, Lillington Shawtown Elementary Gym Addition, the Child Nutrition Freezer Cooler Facility, and the renovations at the Early College in Dunn. Under Human Services, for Social Services, is to replace 134 desks in the department. For Animal Services, to replace 2 vehicles. For Emergency Services, the EMS division is to purchase 3 emergency response vehicles and to provide the funding that will need to provide the EMS services based out of the North Harnett Station 3, and that's the new department on Highway 401. Under the Sheriff's Office, that's marked out because what's marked out is the request for cameras and surveillance software, but they have decided to move forward with that this fiscal year. They had additional funds to cover that. So under the Sheriff's Office, under the 911 division, is to provide incentive pay for certified training officers. For transportation, parts, to provide the 10% grant match to replace the 2 transit vehicles. And at the Jetport, to rewrite the minimum standards document, rules and regulations document, to construct a maintenance building, and to purchase a ground power unit. Harnett Regional Water's budget again is $47,108,000. On page 120 is their budget summary, and again, it's broken out by the revenue and the expenses. On page 121 is a breakout of all their projected revenues for next fiscal year. And their expansion requests are also broken out by their divisions. So for sewer collections, to replace 2 service trucks, to purchase 2 backup generators for their lift stations. Under water distribution is to replace a standby generator and to purchase a new mini excavator and automated traffic flagger. At the water treatment plant is 1 service vehicle for the recommended plant maintenance technician position. At the North Harnett wastewater treatment plant is to replace 2 vehicles. And at the South Harnett wastewater treatment plant is to replace 1 vehicle and to purchase another one for the recommended utility systems electrical technician position. And as Steve went over earlier, the CIP is included in the recommended budget. It starts on page 193, except for it doesn't have today's changes, but those changes will be included in the document that you approve next month. For solid waste, their budget is $8,825,858. On page 128 is a breakdown of their budget summary with their revenues and expenses. And on page 129 is their breakdown of their projected revenues for fiscal year 2025. So for their expansion request, when we submitted the recommended budget, they didn't have an expansion request at that time. But since then, some information has come forward, and they're going to submit an expansion request, and it's going to be for 2 positions, 2 full-time positions, along with a truck and operating expenses that's going to focus on roadside cleanup throughout the county. And so we'll bring more information to you at the next meeting. Once we get all the data together, we'll have some more costs for you. Did you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we found, we had a good meeting with the NCDOT staff, and we found out more details about the road network that they're cleaning up trash from, and determined that there were secondary roads that were not being addressed by their service. And so we feel that in order to do some better work at keeping our county clean, that we need to get our own crew to hit those secondary roads. They will call and respond when there are particular issues that are seen along the roadway, but often they don't have a proactive account that's addressing the secondary roads. And so we feel there's a need. And in addition, Chad brought up, Director Solid Waste brought up that they have some additional needs at their actual landfills to keep things clean, to meet the standard they have. So this crew would be able to help them both at the landfills themselves, and then also to be able to go proactively and address pickup of litter along our roadways. We think it's a great solution, and the solid waste fund is solid and should be able to afford this without an issue.
So our expansion costs that's being requested or recommended from our general fund is $3,538,773. The expansion requests that are being funded through the Saplanda ARPA funds is $1,161,671, and the expansion request through Harnett Regional Water is $1,492,098. On page 187 is the recommended fees. For development services, I have traffic impact analysis review in bold because that was accidentally left off the printed recommended document. But the fees for that, it's not something that's going to generate a revenue for the county because it's passed through. So whatever the consultant charges for that review, we'll just collect it and pass it through to the consultant. There's an requested increase for HARTS for the mileage for Medicaid, approved transportation and out-of-county medical trips. For the Jetport, the fuel cells, facility fees, call-out fees, parking fees, and facility rental fees, which is something, it's new, and it's listed in the recommended budget, what's new, what's changed, what's increased. But the rental fees is for the conference room and the kitchen for the terminal, now that we can rent that out to the public. In the health department, there's various vaccination fee increases for information technology, software subscriptions, and that's what we provide support for the towns. And so now that we're on Office 365 and any other subscription software, we're passing that increased cost to the towns. Parks and Recreation, the rental fee for the Ben Haven Community Center meeting room, participant fees for adult programs, those are the new programs that we're implementing, and the change in the movie and the park sponsorship levels.
Can I ask the question?
Yes, ma'am.
about Parks and Recreation? Why is there no attention brought to Shiners Park? I mean, fees, that park has been there for some time. And I see nothing there. I've said this more than one time. That park serves the whole county. The park is, I think, one of the best pieces of land that we invested in a park. Why is this county not wanting to move forward with what they had promised to do for the citizens of this county?
We have that in our capital improvement plan.
Okay.
Do you want to?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
talked with Carl about that after I met with you, and he is going to put that in now as far as what we can move up. I know we talked about a picnic shelter, doing more benches, and we're going to look at bathrooms. It's just going to be a little bit later as far as the expense of it, but totally understand your point. It's a very good asset for this community,
It is.
and it needs to be enhanced.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate you bringing attention to it.
Yeah, no,
because-
thank you. Thank you for your comments. So we'll get on that as quick as we can.
And for solid waste, we have an increase for the waste hauler permit fee, tipping fee, and the municipal solid waste fee. We haven't had an increase in solid waste in about 3 years. The fire district's tax rate, we only had 2 districts that requested an increase, and that was Anger and West Area. Anger requested a 1-cent tax increase, and they plan to use the increased revenue to purchase a new rescue pumper truck and help pay for a new fire station. The 1-cent increase would generate about $177,395. For West Area, they requested a 4-cent tax increase to make the rate equal to what's charged in Cumberland County, and that increase is about $21,612. And that brings us to the discussion items that we had talked about briefly a little bit ago. So we just would like to discuss these items and get board direction to find out how you would like to handle some of these. So the first one is the fire district tax rate for West Area. It was discussed possibly switching it from 4 cents to decrease it to a 2-cent increase. So I've included what it would be for 2, 3, and 4 cents. For a 2-cent increase would generate about $10,806. A 3-cent increase would generate about $16,209. And of course, 4 cents is the $21,612.
The comment that I'll make is these are items that we've added to this list because they were items that were brought up during the small group meetings that we had. And so they were brought up as ideas, and I just put them out there that if the individual that brought them up in the past would want to decide to make a recommendation, to make a change because of the item that was discussed, this would be the opportunity to do so, or the first opportunity to do so. Could be done in the future if you want time to think about it, but the reason they're on this list is there were questions that were brought up during the small group meetings as to whether these should be changed in any way.
Well, we haven't gotten down to the Boys and Girls Club allegation. Now, I suggest, and I think the Boys and Girls Club is a great organization. It's for the kids of this county. I think they do a wonderful job working with those kids because I have been out there and observed what they do for the children of this county. But I also think the PAL, the Harnett County PAL, and it is a county that we should, if we're gonna support the Boys and Girls Club, we should support the PAL. Because any child that we can help prevent them from going to jail, prison, or whatever, it's worth the effort. And I've seen what PAL has out there. I'm often visiting these facilities because I think it's a great thing. It falls under the Harnett County Sheriff Department, and the Boys and Girls Club don't have Harnett County name in front of it. So why do you not give some consideration to at least giving them a funding, some kind of a funding? I do know that Mark puts his whole heart and his life in that organization. He has very little help. He and his wife both, you have been great about providing vans to transport those kids from the western part of the county over here. And I just think that we should give some consideration to that organization too, since you all want to fund the Boys and Girls Club.
In the next line underneath it, nonprofit organizations allocation, we can maybe able to make something work if you look at the line.
Well, I agree with that, because when we had the nonprofit, they were on the list and they received funding from the nonprofit. But when the nonprofit was cut out, that was it. Now, they do get some funding from the JCPC, but that is to provide, he got a computer lab out there. And he have instructors for the computer lab to teach those kids how to use computers and all. That JPC funding goes directly to that computer lab. Most of the time, they try to raise their own funding, and plus they have started this community project, not only for that area, but to bring in all the Hunter County areas to let them know and to educate them, and to provide a picnic for the whole county. So I don't understand why we don't see that as a positive move for Harnett County. Any child we keep out of prison is worth the dollars we spend. And they are not kids, they are kids from all over this county. They are not minority kids. They are all ethnicities. So I'm here and I'm gonna always advocate for them, because I think they're doing a wonderful job. Has made a major difference in that community. A major difference. So I'm through with that now. But it's in my heart. All the children of this county is in my heart. I'm passionate about it. So thank you.
Okay. So for the fire district tax, did you want to discuss that or think about that a little bit more?
Yeah, we'll think about it a little bit more.
Okay. In the boys and girls allocation, we have that at 50,000. Is that something that you are good with, or you want to discuss that a little bit more?
I prefer to discuss it more.
Okay. In the nonprofit organization allocation, that was, we came up with the $75,000 based on prior year funding. So if you're good with that, or if that's something you want to change, we can do that as well. I know with everything getting looked at today, and you're approving next week to discuss the nonprofit policy and bylaws, so if that's something else you need to think about and hold off on.
I have one question on that. The $75,000 will be the cap for nonprofit funding, right?
If that's what the board chooses, yes.
Okay, so that's another thing. How is the board gonna be set up? Have that been discussed? Because the board when the previous had this organization, the board was set up by every district in this county. Every district had a representative in this county.
That's in the bylaws.
Just go over the new.
That's located in the bylaws, and the bylaws have not changed in that regard.
Okay.
The only change in the bylaws was as it related to the conflict of interest policy.
Okay.
So the same way that the board members were chosen in the past is how they would be chosen going forward under the proposed bylaws brought to you today.
I thank you. I just wanted to make sure before I leave this meeting, because there was some misunderstanding about how the board was set up.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make that very clear.
Another item that was brought, oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, since we're talking about the bylaws for the nonprofit next week, why don't we just put the funding same discussion?
Sounds good. That's the pleasure of the board. All right, that's what we'll do.
It was also discussed at one of our meetings what the increase would be to take the COLA from a 3% to a 4%, and that 1% increase is about $867,000. And the other item was our recommended fees. We would like to know if the board is okay with what's been submitted and recommended, or if there were anything that you felt that needed to be looked at again.
Well, I can say I truly approve of the 1% increase in the COLA. I think the employees deserve that.
We're gonna have to address the COLA issue to stay competitive. And I worked with Harnett County government since '87, and we've always, especially the sheriff's office, never been anything but a training ground for Wake and Sanford and Cumberland counties. Until we get our pay where we are competitive, we're gonna lose a percentage every year. And I'm the one that asked that about it, what it would take to raise the COLA. And that's the thought behind it. And that's, for those of you who didn't know, that's why I brought it up. The same way with EMS. Come out here, stay a year or two, get a good looking resume, and don't. We're gonna have to find a way to, and I'm assuming Mr. Ward has the same problems.
Absolutely. Send them to Apex, Raleigh, Cary every day.
So we're gonna have to address that sooner or later. So that's why I put it on there, I wanted to know just what 1% would cost, so we have an idea, we could multiply it out if we need to do something different.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with that, because when Mr. George Wood was here, he was the only manager person that seen the need to move forward on our county employees. And I begged him to put something in place before he left here. Because we spend more money training people than we do paying people. And it doesn't make any sense to me. It never makes sense. So I think that we are on the right track, and I appreciate that.
It's clear retention dollars go further than training dollars. So anyhow, that's why it's on there.
Okay. Is that something that the board would like to discuss a little further, or is this something that you would like for us to go ahead and build in as we bring the numbers back to you each meeting?
Why don't you give us to the next meeting, and then we'll decide if, and if so, how much.
Gotcha. Okay. So what are your thoughts on the recommended fees? Are those okay?
Take a look at those as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Trout, print us out a list of all of them, and then we can figure out where to go.
Okay, it's actually in the recommended budget document on page 187.
Okay.
And there's a justification for each of the increases as well, or a change in the fee. Do you have any other questions or any other items you want to discuss?
I've already asked Ms. Honeycutt for an extra $5 million this morning, and she told me no, so that's all I can do.
That's what I do. I say no.
She tells a lot of us no.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your work on the presentation.
Okay, and just to give us your next, or give you your next steps, we have the joint board meeting with Harnett County Schools today. The public hearing for the budget is scheduled on Monday, the 20th. And we've got a couple more budget work sessions if we need those on May 28th and June the 11th, with the adoption scheduled for June 17th.
Well, let me say this. I speak out when I see things not going in the right way. But when I see things going in the right way, I must recognize that too. And I think you all have done a good job on the budget. I realize, and I spoke out about this on many occasions here, we have a lot of population growth in this county. And I'm glad to see in the budget that he's hiring new employees to take care of the needs of the citizens in this county. There's nothing wrong with having growth. But you got to prepare for growth. And the rapid pace that growth is growing now, we got to stay on top of this stuff because we could continue to have a shortfall rather than being able to say, hey, I agree to this budget and going to move on and not put ourselves in a position that I've seen this county be in. I've been here a long time, but I've seen this county be in a position that it wasn't a pleasing position. So I thank you. I thank you for what you have put in the budget, how you have worked with the budget. And I'm looking forward to us analyzing if there's anything in there that needs to be improved and moving on for this fiscal year. Thank you. See, I give you praise when it's good things that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden. All right, item number 15, to review applications to serve on boards and committees. I've got that sheet somewhere. All righty, we have an opening for the Dangerous Dog Committee, a opening on the Home and Community Block Grant Committee, and highlighted is the Harnett County Commission for Women and Youth. There are 3 vacancies on the board in districts 2, 3, and 4. They've received 1 application from, well, y'all see the name. I'm not going to insult them by trying to pronounce it. She resides in District 2. I don't know the lady, but if she's qualified, then I certainly suggest that we appoint her to it.
She's qualified. I'll approve it.
You know, okay.
Let me answer my question though, but who serves on this board from District 1?
I have that list. We have Alicia Fleming and Denise Thurman.
That Donna's daughter.
Yeah, but I didn't know, I don't remember seeing the Thurman lady's name come before us. But I think they get great citizens.
Well, if it's the pleasure of the board, we'll put the lady on there for the consent agenda for next week.
Will do.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. The manager's report, Mr. Trout.
2 items. First item is, if the board's okay with it, add to the consent agenda NCDOT request to add Fairfax Drive and Savannah Court and Pittman Crossing to the state secondary road system. And the second item is, just to let you know that on Thursday, the planning committee for the Jetport ribbon cutting and jamboree will be meeting to decide whether or not we'll move forward with the ribbon cutting due to the weather. The weather forecast is looking like a potential for rain that day, maybe even thunder, and so it would hamper the expected participants that we'll have. Some of those displays won't come, so we're looking at maybe potentially moving to the rain date, which is scheduled for June 1st. So we'll contact you once the decision is made. That's all I have.
All right. Good enough. And as far as the DOT stuff, is that consent agenda? Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. All right, Mr. Counselor, I understand there's a need for a closed session.
There is. Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the following purpose. Consultation with and instructions to the county staff concerning the position to be taken by the county in negotiating a proposed contract for the acquisition of real property. This is in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5.
Second. Motion has been made properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's go in and move to closed session. call your board order.
I'd like to call the Martin County School Board May 14th Commissioners to order at this time. Mr. Godfrey, do you mind doing the invocation for the school board?
Be more than happy to. Everybody stand and join me in prayer, please. Our kind, most heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for the wonderful rain that you're sending our way on the crops and the fields, Lord. Father, we thank you for every family that's represented here today that cares enough to get out and to know the business of the county and to hear it, dear Lord, and to take part and partake in it. Father, we pray for our children and our schools today, Lord, that, Father, we would nourish and take good care of them, Lord. And what we do in this meeting, we pray that it would be thy will, dear Lord, and not our will. We just thank you for your son, Jesus, the greatest gift, Lord, that's ever been. And it's these things, Lord, we ask in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Bonte, will you do a pledge of allegiance? I will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we call County Commission back to order. We're recessed.
I'll entertain a motion on our.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Chairman votes aye.
Powell votes aye.
Bonte, aye.
Janey, aye.
Godfrey, aye. Hearing no nay votes, motion carries. The first item we have is recruitment and retention of
Good morning, Chairman Morris and Chairman Geiger. Our recruitment and retention folks this morning will be doing a brief presentation on our recruitment and retention efforts here in Harnett County. I will allow them to introduce themselves as they present. We made two presentations to the school board about these efforts, and we've done a combined kind of overview of both together for this morning. They do some great work in Harnett County. They're well loved by teachers. They work with teachers. They work with crew. They work with principals, and they are well loved in the work they do. They're a very dedicated group of educators. And if you will, go right down the line, and we'll look through the last. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. And I also have here Miss Virginia Taylor, who is Director of Human Resources. She's also here this morning.
I'm Jessica Moss, Recruitment Retention.
Alicia Washington, Recruitment and Retention.
Michelle Cannon, Recruitment and Retention.
Harold Blaylock, Recruitment and Retention.
Greg Griffin, Recruitment and Retention. And we're in business. Looks like. All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to share some data with you about our certified and classified attrition and turnover from the past about a year and a half or so. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit about. Do I need that? Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's a hot mic. Okay, I won't have to work too hard. I'm going to start out by talking a little bit about our certified attrition, and this is our teachers, right? And then also some of our, who else is certified? Counselors, social workers, mostly teachers is what the certified data is going to cover. Okay. And as you can see, this is between July of 22 and December 31st, this past New Year's Eve. So about the past year and a half. You can see that we have lost 96 teachers to other districts. If you look in the top left box, there were 96 or 24% of our teachers that left that went to another county to teach. All right, and we're going to break that down a little bit for you in just a minute. But then the other, you can see all of the other reasons that they gave us. And to be honest, they don't always give us a reason. Sometimes they just leave, but we do have a form that they fill out where they're able to mark why they left, and they're also able to tell us where they're going if they want to. Testing? Okay. And feel free to let me know if you have a question as we go, and me and the team will do our best to try to answer it. All right. Okay. This pie chart here will show you the districts that they're going to. All right. So they are able to tell us where they want their leave balance transferred to. And predominant district that they're leaving us for is Wake. And then a big chunk also going to Lee and Cumberland. But I tell people all the time, I better not stand under that speaker right there. Sometimes I feel like I'm a trainer for Wake County because we train them during their first 2 or 3 years are sometimes rough, and we work with them, and then they end up pretty good, and then they're able to say, hey, I know what I'm doing, and go somewhere else. But we are losing a bunch of them to Wake. This is a comparison of the teacher supplement with the teacher's salary folded in with any local dollars. I don't know how easy that is to see. I think it's easier to see over here than it is for me to look up there. Ms. Taylor, did you want to say anything about this? Oh, Ms. Buchanan and Ms. Washington are passing a handout out of the same information. Did you want to say anything, Ms. Taylor?
Yeah, the only thing I'll mention is this was collected in January, and so we understand Cumberland, for example, has made an amendment to their supplement, and so it's only as accurate as it was on that particular day in January, but it's a good point of reference for you.
And it is interesting that it hurts our veterans, it looks like, more the way it's set up right now. Just about everywhere, it's the veterans that are suffering the most as we go along with the difference. Like 26 plus years of experience teacher with the state salary and the local supplement folded in would be around almost 59,000 for us. And for Wake, an example, it's going to be 66 plus. So it does hurt the veterans more than the ones that are just starting out. And again, we'll be glad to try to answer any questions for you that you might have about this information.
And Greg, I do want to share, because I think it's important, and our school board knows this, but I want commissioners to see this, and also the public for that matter. When you look at a beginning teacher, we're right in the mix. It's typically college graduate, though you could be the non-traditional age as well. But if you come in with no years of experience as a A0 teacher, what we call it, we're right in the mix. Obviously, Wake is always going to kind of be outside the box there a little bit. When you look, we're very competitive with other school districts. It starts to tighten up mid-career, and then going on to that 26 plus, just like Greg mentioned to you, that's really where we're losing out on folks right now. So I just wanted to clarify that when people talk about Harnett County pays lower, it certainly is for experienced teachers, but we are right in the mix for a beginning teacher. And that kind of goes along with what Mr. Griffin was saying about how he's being a trainer for Wake County. They hang with us a couple of years, and then you go from 0 to 1, 2, 3 on up, you start to see that pay differential really start to expand.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. And this is going to show, it's the same information, it's just displayed as a difference. It's an annual difference. And I think that's on the handout too, isn't it, Ms. Taylor? Yeah. Okay. All right. This is a look, and this is a very telling set of data here as well. This is the breakdown by school. So we were looking at the individual schools that had the highest turnover all the way down to the least. And as you can see, the top 4 schools with the highest turnover are border schools. They're either in the north near Wake, you see Andrew Elementary, Harnett Central area, or the Overhill schools are closer to Cumberland. And so this is very telling as well. Anybody have any questions about this set of data?
The Overhill schools, how much of that is related to PCS? Have you separated that from the normal turnover rate?
Yeah, we do look at that. I mean, a lot of that is going to factor in. Actually, last time we looked, it affected the western schools more. Yeah. Yeah, you are going to see an increase over there, and that's something. Yeah, we got a lot of our military affiliated teachers. And then this also is resignation by years of service with Harnett County Schools, and we are starting to see an increase in the veteran attrition. As you can see, it's starting to be a little bit bigger plus a slice of the pie than it has in the past. So we have like, that's something that's kind of new.
And if you'll keep it there, an example I always use with this, and this is why, again, going back to the Wake County example. Most of our teachers, I mean, we can drive around Harnett County and we know we don't have, for a beginning teacher, hard to find a $100,000 home like, or even $80,000 home when I started teaching for that matter. But so where do most of these teachers live? They live in apartments in Apex, Holly Springs, Fuquay, maybe Raleigh or Garner. How many schools do they pass in Wake County before they cross the border into Harnett to go to work? And after 2 or 3 years of that, they realize real quick that I'm passing a 25% supplement going to a school district where we're almost at 10. And so I do want everybody to keep that in mind a bit, that these teachers aren't driving necessarily from Lillington to the western side of the county or Lillington to Dunn or vice versa. They're driving in from Wake, and on the southern end, most of them are driving in from Spring Lake and Fayetteville. So I think that's important. We do have some crossover with Sampson and Johnston, obviously, but those are our two biggest, and Wake by far is the largest. You can go through addresses of employees and see that. A lot of squeaking. It's not me for one.
Okay. And now Ms. Moss is going to come talk to you a little bit about the exit survey data.
Yes, so in addition to the resignation form, all of our employees that resigned received an email with an exit survey, and we do value that information. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. First of all, it is optional. So of the folks that resigned in that time period, only 46% of them completed the form survey. 29% indicated that they left for personal reasons. 28% indicated that they left for a better salary. 20% said they left due to relocation, which could be some of that military location as well. 14% due to dissatisfaction with supervisors, and 10% for lack of parent and community support. And this is just taking a look at, of those that indicated they left for a bigger salary, which attendance area they were located in. So you can see that the Triton area and Harnett Central had the most for that reason. And then also we thought it might be interesting, just as we were looking for clues, what grade bands were leaving more for bigger salary, and high school definitely we thought possibly for coaching opportunities, but we really don't know, but that was just a hypothesis. And then also on the exit survey, they have the opportunity to leave comments, and so I'm not going to read these to you, but I'm just going to give you a second to look at those.
And just to add that, one of the comments was about master's pay. And, you know, the state no longer pays master's pay, but there are some districts around us who are able to compensate master's pay for beginning teachers outside of what the state does. That's also been a recruitment piece that we really desperately need reinstated by the legislature.
So now Ms. Valela is going to talk some about our recruitment and retention efforts.
All right. So we're going to talk about what we're doing to recruit teachers and how we're working to keep them in our district. So we continue with the traditional face-to-face job fairs. We have, over the last probably 5 years, we do more virtual job fairs now to reach more people. We're doing them not only for certified staff, but also for our classified staff, looking for our custodial services, our bus drivers, our substitutes, our teacher assistants, child nutrition, just, you know, really broadening our net to see, you know, to get more employees to apply. We also go to in-state and out-of-state job fairs. Those are traditionally at colleges or universities. We also do some other ones. We participate in several with Fort Bragg with their spouses. They have some job fairs for military spouses. And we go and talk to them a lot about teaching and the alternative route for teaching, because we're going to look at that in just a minute. And that's kind of our trend right now. But we use Indeed.com. You know, that's a new kind of way to recruit through virtual platforms. We're conducting preliminary interviews for principals. Principals have more and more things to deal with. And so we are helping them screen candidates to try to move people through the pipeline quicker and stay up to date with current recruiting methods. That goes along with the Indeed and the virtual job fairs, face-to-face job fairs, things like that. Something new we started this year, we've been doing EPI and Participate, our international teaching companies, so to speak, as a teacher source pipeline for us. And these teachers are from other countries. And we have been doing early screeners and go ahead and doing district job offers so that we will have teachers in place in August so they can get their things and move here and get in place. These teachers have been very effective in our classrooms. They have years of experience in their own country, and they offer a lot to our students here.
And let me add that, Carol, and I know that for the business world, Indeed is not a new concept. For education, we typically do not recruit off of Indeed. And I know that sometimes we talk about alternatively licensed folks, and I do want to clarify, everyone has a license. We do have some people on emergency permits, but for the most part, people have license, and they are qualified for those licenses while they've not been through the traditional teacher prep program. They do have qualifying coursework that allows them to qualify for this alternative license. Especially in high school and middle school, they have a lot of experience or coursework in the content area for that area. So I do want to clarify that these people do have some background that enables them to qualify for this alternative license that they have. So I did want to say that, those two things. Okay.
So we are also promoting and conducting teacher and teacher assistant information sessions to recruit candidates. We offer sessions on alternatively licensed teachers so people can learn more about, like if you have a 4-year degree, what that route would look like for you, what kinds of positions you may qualify for. Also,
and I will say this too, Carol, we've been working on TA teachers in Hardin County for a very long time. Almost the whole time in this position, that's been a real focus of ours. So we've qualified many teachers out of our TA teacher program, whether we work with Campbell individually, but we try to offer a wide variety of EPPs, educator prep programs for them to work through that best meets their schedule. So sometimes some universities did not have an online program until recently, and so other universities did, and so that better suited our folks' needs based on what they were able to do and current obligations in their life. So it's been a long time commitment of Hardin County to TA teachers.
Right.
We've had a lot of success there. In fact, I will say that we've about depleted our funds, our pool of that. So just we've worked on that a long time.
Right. And on May 31st, we'll be hosting a TA to teacher fair. We've hosted a number of EPPs here in the state where the teacher assistants can come as a teacher workday. They can come and learn more about their programs, bring their transcripts, let them look at them, and kind of tell them, you know, what the route might look like for them, coursework and timeline, financially, those types of things. We, of course, develop and maintain social media sites for recruitment, and we do a lot of things to engage the public in what we're doing, what's available to them. We are conducting open interviews at central office every Tuesday from 1 to 3 o'clock. They can just walk in, it's all positions. And then this is new to us this year. We received a $50,000 grant from the state. It's the Teaching Fellows grant, and we'll be using that for recruitment through our Growing Greatness cohort that we have as a teacher pipeline that we've created. This will be our 4th year. We recruit our high school seniors that wish to go into education, as well as our student teachers from other universities that are currently doing field experience for student teaching in our district. So where do they come from? You can see this large blue pie, they're coming from industry because almost 70% of our teachers are now alternatively licensed. They're coming from other degrees, other industries, and now they're coming into teaching. You can see also our TA teacher pipeline is almost 3%, but that's growing. I mean, we're doing a lot to recruit them. And you just kind of see, we lost 24% to other LEAs and 4.2% came back from another LEA. And we're going to look at some of that data. So retention, we reimburse for successful coursework and licensure testing for these alternative folks. We do a lot of testing preparation. You may have heard teacher licensure tests are rigorous and they're tough, and so we work with them to prepare for those so that that's not a stumbling block to become a licensed teacher. We do our own Pearson Foundations of Reading test preparation. That's the test for elementary and special ed folks. Fayetteville State University, ECU, and there's some others, but they offer free seminars for our teachers. We send them the links so they can participate in those. And then we share information about how to enroll in an educator prep program. And then much of our time, the 5 of us, we spend in the schools with teachers, meeting with them multiple times a year to help them navigate the licensure process, things that they need to do. We offer them support, resources, so that they can successfully clear their teaching license. We do bi-monthly teacher talk sessions. That's professional development on high needs for new teachers, things like classroom management, time management, communication. We also work with our mentors to give them some support and some ways that they can support beginning teachers. We do a quarterly PLC, that's a professional learning community for our lead mentors. We have a very much growing and active national board certification cohort. We do mentor training throughout the year because our beginning teachers, the numbers that we have, they're growing and growing. We have roughly, I think, 340 right now that are classified as beginning teachers. We do a mini conference to help them also to support all of these teachers, especially alternatively licensed teachers, have not been through student teaching, so they have not had the training that they need sometimes for classroom management, time management, all those things that make for a successful year in the classroom. We do NESAs, which is the teacher evaluation instrument, and do hire training. That's learning about our policies and things like that. We celebrate our teachers. We just had Friday, we had a live where we celebrated our beginning teachers and our mentors with a giveaway. Local businesses donated things. We do a monthly Rookie Rockstar recognition. We recognize our mentors who make a difference each month. We are responsible for Beginning Teacher of the Year, and this year we started Outstanding Educator Support recognition, just recognizing our teachers. That goes a long way, you know, giving them praise and letting them know that we value them and support them. We spend a lot of time in data reflection, looking at our beginning teacher and mentor survey so that we can always support them more effectively. We do model lessons in the classroom, and then we also have a Growing Greatness leadership cohort for our veteran teachers to encourage them to go into leadership. There are currently 16 in this cohort. 6 are actively serving now in the assistant principal role. So that's a recruiting tool for us for admin. These are some quotes I'm going to leave you with to kind of ponder and think about. Made us feel really good to get some of these. Just to let us know, the theme through these quotes is that Harnett County Schools is a nurturing environment. We do have a lot of very intentional support for our teachers, and so that's not why they're, you know, would want to flee us. And there's another. So, thank you for your time. And now Ms. Buchanan will come talk to you.
Give me a second to read those. Okay. So up to this point, we focused primarily on certified staff. certified attrition. Those are our teachers, as Greg mentioned, primarily our teachers. I want to take a few minutes to talk about our attrition data as it relates to our classified staff. So that is going to be all the other VIPs that help our school system operate, our custodial staff, our child nutrition staff, our bus drivers, our maintenance workers, I mean, the list goes on. Also VIPs, and we need them. So this just, again, a pie chart that shows as they're leaving, we ask them to fill out this form and indicate why they are leaving. If they choose to indicate a reason why, this is how that data pans out. So many of them are leaving to pursue a different career. Quite a few are retiring. And then we have that big slice that says others. That could be a number of things. That could be that they just didn't want to tell why they were leaving. Could be dissatisfaction with supervisor. It could be a number of different reasons. It could be that they're going to a different LEA. We just don't know that on that. This breaks it down by school. And you can see in the first column, it indicates the allotted number of classified positions for that school site. And then beside that, you'll see the number of resignations. Now this data is about a year and a half worth. You can see that this data is from July 1st of 2022 through December 31st of 2023. So we've got about a year and a half of data here. And then the third column shows the percentage and then the top reasons that they are leaving. A lot of other. And this is attrition by other departments. So this includes our data for, like I said, maintenance, purchasing, child nutrition, digital teaching and learning, all the way through to custodial service. And again, in our first column, we've given you the allotted number of positions for that department, the number of resignations, same time span as the last slide, and then the percentage that is leaving and the top reason that they are leaving. Alicia is going to walk you through the last bits of our presentation.
All right, so now we're going to discuss our exit survey data for classified. Mr. Griffin stated before that the exit survey is optional. We had 66 classified responses between June 1st of 22 and December 31st of 2023. And this was about 24% of all of our certified. About 12% indicated they lived out district for personal reasons. 36 of responses indicated they left for a better salary. And only 11 said they left due to relocation, and 11% said they resigned due to satisfaction with supervisor. And 5 people spoke of the bus driver requirement being a factor in contributing to their resignation decision. Because of course, this is a dual employment with Hornet County Schools. Some other classified comments from our exit survey. I'll give you a chance to read through those. We also recently, Hornet County Schools Human Resources Department worked with Pontifex Consulting to complete a classified salaries study. So they work with different school systems to help redesign their HR. And so here on the right-hand side here, this is North Carolina sector who participated, Hornet, Cumberland, Johnson, who they went within their other school systems, And after researching other districts, the suggestion is to increase the structure by the 8%, and this will help with the competitiveness at the entry level of the structure.
If I could add, Harnett County at the top is Harnett County government, so I believe that's who the county used in the most recent salary study.
Thank you. And I will add just a couple of things in the last bit, what they said. We have a big growing greatness program. We're at our highest number with our high school to college students wanting to teach it. I think we were like 32 is our biggest number ever. I mean, we've just really had real growth in that area. That's great. So that encompasses our TA to teachers, our high school students and teachers, and we added leadership last year. We have a pretty large cohort, about 13 school leaders that got free. We have free internships with that, and we're working on continuing that into the new school year. And I wanted to say about the national board, so everybody understands why that's so important. We lose a lot of people after their third year. We worked really hard to bring them into the national board process, because that's a 12% increase. So we try to draw them in to work on that and continue their time here and retain them here in the district after that third year. So the work is hard, the work is deep, but I think we're really committed to doing our best to serve our teachers and make sure that we get the most benefit for them. So thank you this morning for hearing that. We appreciate your support.
All right, any questions from Ms. Thompson? Now we're moving on to item B, low wealth allotment and supplement updates. Mr. Cox?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chairman, let me just say, and then we'll have Mr. Cox go. This is what's clearly keeping us up at night. I know there's been some questions, I've got it right here, I'm good. I know this is, I know this, there's been some discussion, is this federal money, is this local money, is it state money? It's all state funds. It does have, or it is impacted by local property tax and local property value. So I do want to clarify that, because I've had some people ask about Title I money and a lot of different things. It's not federal funds at all, and it's not local dollars, it's state dollars that are impacted by local property value, property tax. Mr. Cox is going to give you the deep down and dirty on this, because you can really get into the weeds. But here's the, I guess the main point, is that of the 30 or so school districts that are losing funding, the dollar amount ranges from Harnett County at $5.7 million down to Lexington City, $407. And it ranges all in between. Only four districts are $1 million or above, below us, and then after that it's below $1 million. So Harnett, Johnston, Onslow, Rockingham County is losing almost $2 million, $1.9 million. So, but no one is anyone near Harnett County on this. So I do want to pass this on to Mr. Cox, and like I said, he can give you the in the weeds version of what I just said.
Thanks, Dr. Fleming, and I won't go too far in the weeds, just to, like I said, I know I've had conversations with Ms. Honeycutt and Mr. Coates regarding this, but just so everybody understands what it is. Public schools get a pot of money called low wealth money from the state if they deem the district as a low wealth district. And in 23-24 school year, Harnett County Schools received $13.8 million from the state in that low wealth supplemental funding. And it's all formula driven, as Dr. Fleming mentioned. A couple of the big things that are factored in are your tax base, your tax rates, sales tax revenues, and a couple other things in there. And in 2022, as you know, Harnett County had a revaluation, and the tax base increased about $4 billion. And the commissioners, in an effort to take into consideration the taxpayers and not increase their tax burden based on those, or based on that revaluation, lowered the tax rate from 75 cents per $100 down to 50, I think it's 59. Yes, 59. 59.1 per 100 to remain as revenue neutral as possible, again, to not have a significant impact on the taxpayers. Well, as a side effect of that, that goes into the formula for low wealth for the schools, and what ultimately happened was because of that, now Harnett County is seen as having a effective tax rate lower than the state average. So the schools now don't qualify for near as much low wealth money because of that. That formula is very complicated, and I can't explain everything that goes into the formula. And so nobody would really think about that as they're doing these things. But the end result is that Harnett County Schools stands to lose $5.7 million in state money in this low wealth pot of money. And how we use that money, just so people know, 97% of that $13.8 million goes to personnel and benefits for those personnel. So that's just kind of a little overview of how what the situation is and how it occurred and the unintended side effects around that.
Any questions for Mr. Cox? He said that we're below the state average. What is the state average?
So the state average, let me get back right here. The state average is 54.2. So we're at, the actual average is 59.1, but when you, and Ms. Honeycutt may can explain what the weighted sales assessment ratio is, but when you take in that factor that goes into the formula, it now puts the effective tax rate for Harnett County Schools at 52.1. So the actual tax rate is 59.1, but when you take in that weighted sales assessment ratio, it puts the effective tax rate at 52.1, and that's what the formula truly looks at to determine whether you're above or below the average state tax rate.
I do want to add to Mr. Cox that the question is, well, what are we doing about it? Two things. One, we're continuing to advocate. We are going to be visiting with some legislators over the next few days to explain the impact, not just our Harnett County delegation, but also those in leadership and others, particularly with the appropriation process. So that's kind of step one. The part that we try not to think about, but we're having to, is we are reviewing the RIF policies, reduction of force policies in the event that we do have to RIF $8 million in employees, or excuse me, $5.7 million in employees. That is a worst case scenario. We don't want to go there, but we are having to look at that as an option. I don't think we need to make that decision yet. I do think through the state budget process, we've kind of received mixed results on that, so or mixed reviews on that of where that may head. As you look through the counties that are losing money, you will see that some of those are in counties that have legislators and leadership positions that might be able to help. So you have all those districts fighting as well, because while $5.7 million is drastic to Harnett County, $2 million is drastic to Rockingham County, and $500,000 to Stanley County, whatever it may be. So I can assure you those superintendents, those school boards, finance officers are also joining kind of the advocacy role there. So that's going to be step one. Let's see if we can get this reversed. The second part of this, which I know Mr. Cox won't get into too much, is dealing with using state and local dollars for teacher supplements, which we've done, and the state has created a threshold for that as well. We don't have to get too far into it, but that's about another $3 million on top of the 5.7. That may be another one that we're definitely working with legislators on, but also it impacts some counties that I know those legislators don't want it to happen. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I certainly would not bet on it, but I hope we can do something quick. Anyone else that helps advocate, it is appreciated.
Any other questions? All right, moving along, item C, 2425 Harnett County Board of Education, local funding request, Dr. Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Ms. Johnson to hand out. You're going to get two packets. One is really better viewed probably as a PDF. That's the actual funding request packet. But you will see the numbers are very small. And every year, for me anyway, they tend to get smaller. So we did provide a second packet, which are those same documents, but on legal size paper, which is now my preferred size for spreadsheets and beyond. Some of you I know resemble that remark. as Ms. Johnson is handing this out, I'm gonna go high level. We can certainly talk about capital as well. I know I was here just a few weeks ago talking about capital, so if I go too far high level, just let me know and we can get a little further into it. But in essence, our continuation budget for Harnett County Schools is about $28.1 million, just over that. Everything that I discuss after that, obviously our expansion request or capital request, expansion of current expense or capital request. I would say a bulk of our current expense request is grounded in people. And certainly probably more so now that even when the board approved this budget back on April 15th. But we're asking for the typical funding of charter school reduction dollars, as well as certified supplement staff increases. We're continuing to try to drive home the fact that we've got to get to 10 or above % on our local supplement at all steps. This year we asked for a very robust 12%. We do have a goal as a board for 18%, but we were asking for 12%, which is about $5.5 million. That again is only for your certified teachers and those in non-administrative roles. For our school-based administrators, those are principals and assistant principals. We're asking for an additional $1,000 at $92,000 to give them an additional $1,000. That would go to each principal and assistant principal. And then we have the state employer-paid benefits, or they're set by the state. That is due to the state salary increase that right now is in the state budget of 4%, the increase in retirement costs, and the increase in hospital insurance, which is the state covers if it's a state-funded position, but we have to cover locally if it's a locally covered position, and we can't deviate, obviously, from the state rates. And then also, with our salary study, $2.4 million, $2.38 million for increase to classified salary, putting them a little closer to market rate. I don't know that a school district will ever get exactly to market rate, but it also will get us closer to some of the county government salaries, because I know we've lost, especially ground crew and all, we've lost some folks in maintenance. My understanding, we have a couple folks going to the water department too. So, but I can tell you they're all good people. You're getting good ones. Any questions on the current expense expansion budget? You'll notice highlighted there, kind of in that salmon color, all those numbers populate up to that 8.344 in the staff salary section.
So Dr. Fleming, I would like to say that, if the commissioners could look at where we don't have competition hiring employees. When y'all fill in your positions in maintenance and things like that, if we're not in competition, if we could get the salary match so that an employee doesn't feel like they have to leave the school system to go to the county system to go for get the same, get better salaries. So I just really like y'all to look at that in particular.
If I may add, Chairman, I think 9.7 million was a very modest number to present the Board of Commissioners with. We are in competition with Wake County. They're at 25%. It's been shown previously. I think some of the early budget numbers is looking at an increase to 29% this year in Wake County. And as we're still between 7 and 10%, we can't compete with that. I think Mr. Trout's numbers were $2.5 million to $1 million of expansion, which is a pretty long way off of 9.7. If we were being realistic, we would need additional $1 million to get our supplement to 18%, which is still not there, but to me is more competitive. We would need an additional $1 million for master's pay for teachers that we have now that currently have masters. And I believe believe Wake County's already gone to pay that out of local sub. Then we face the $5.7 million shortfall for low wealth funding. So in actuality, where we're coming to you asking for 9.7, if we had 22.4 million in expansion, that would be great, but we're coming for 9.7. That's kind of where I am as a representative of District 3.
Just, Mr. Chairman, just an update, Johnston County is going to move towards master's pay out of local dollars. The talk is Chatham, I don't know if the commissioners has approved that.
Are you finished?
No, well, I'm finished with current expense. I'm sorry, I thought you said.
I didn't know.
But I am almost finished.
All right, move to.
We can go this part, pretty quickly. So for capital outlay, we have broken down into facilities, this is statutory, facilities, equipment, and vehicles. For facilities, we'll get to that in just a second. I always wait until the end. Those are all of our school facility needs. One highlight on school safety is we do want to update our visitor management software at $70,000. This is an enterprise software. You may have seen the older version. We're still using a much older version in our schools, Identikit. But this would print out a ID badge. It would scan your driver's license, do all of that. I think physical security wise with our Evolve, our new camera systems, our door locks, we're right where we need to be. We have a little software need, and then I think on the safety side, we'll always want to enhance it, but I think we'll be pretty solid on that point. You'll see some scheduled and required facility maintenance. These are projects that are under $100,000 a piece, which I believe is the minimum to be in the CIP. So these are maybe smaller painting projects, smaller electrical projects, windows, fire alarms, and some of the smaller schools are under that threshold. So we add those in there just to say, hey, even though they may not be the CIP, we need them completed. On the equipment side, you'll see most of that is for our custodial side with floor burnishers and floor cleaners and pressure washers, and those are state contract prices, and I always say if you can find it lower, let us know. And then capital outlay vehicles, as you go through the first, 4 or 5, you'll see service trucks. Those are our custodial maintenance trucks. There's nothing that we're just driving around in for the heck of it. Bucket truck, dump truck, a box truck for purchasing. We need a van for our McKinney Vento, which is our homeless transportation. 72 passenger, 72 passenger activity buses. As we do have some activity buses that need replacement, and then a tractor and maintenance. We'll let you drive the tractor if you get it. That adds, Nick, you want to know what kind? We're getting green or blue or red, whatever's the cheapest. So that is a very quick overview of capital outlay, and then I can get actually into school facilities if there's no question.
Any questions for Dr. Fleming on that particular item?
And then finally, and I went over this just a few weeks ago, but again, thank you for your support of Flatwoods Middle School. We're in the design phase. We're ahead of schedule on the design phase, so hopefully that means we can break ground even sooner. At the time that this was approved by the school board back in on April 15th, we did not, at that point, I believe, have Lillington Shawtown's gym addition approved or the child nutrition freezer. Those have since been approved, so thank you. So next year they'll pop forward there. For our Tier 1 projects, Highland High School, #1 need of non-approved projects right now. Of course, it's the most expensive one, of course, right? The one you want the most. 97,000. I don't know where we're at in escalation. This was back probably even in March when that number came up. So, are we going to reach 100 million? I wouldn't be surprised. Wake County's looking 100, 120 million dollar schools. So, I can see where we would be heading in that direction for too much longer. Obviously, renovations to the three oldest high schools. transportation facility, this would be located on McNeil Street, Town of Lillington owns that property, it's part of a land swap. Auxiliary gym at Triton, those are tier 1, I won't go any further than that, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on Dr. Fleming? Again, we do appreciate moving forward with the Flatwood Middle School. As you can see, as the county's growing, we have to have more buildings. And it costs a lot of money. Dr. Fleming, is that, you done?
I am finished, we'll move on to bus patrol, I believe.
Yes, bus patrol, Dr. Fleming, Mr. Parker.
Yeah, I'll, and Mr. Matthews may wanna add more to this, but we'll let Mr. Parker and our bus patrol representative get set up here. Our board has had some discussions on the future of bus patrol. I know the sheriff has had some conversations with me as well, county manager and I have talked a little, where are we headed, as we get through, as we continue to trudge through our contract. Of course, each year, there's an out on it. But I do want to just share a little bit of some of the concerns, not on the bus patrol side, some of the concerns we've had on the enforcement side, but also any conversations we want to have with bus patrol. I will say this, and I'll say this with our new bus patrol rep that's with us, but we have, and I don't know the amount, Mr. Parker, $2.5 million maybe, $2.5 million worth of technology in these school buses combined that have been absolutely amazing. 4K cameras can catch everything. You can see basically under the seats, out into every seat. You can see 360 around the bus, and without bus patrol, this would be the one thing I will say into continuing with this, I don't know where we would get $2.5, $3 million, whatever it would cost for this type of technology. You guys know we've had bus fires, we've had bus accidents, you can see it all, we can see what's going on inside the bus time and after. And so that's my positive to it. I do know there's been some questions on the enforcement side, and as we get going forward with bus patrol, if we decide to renew after our initial contract, certain conversations both boards will have to have jointly on that. And I know Mr. Bell's been very diligent in working through some of that. So anything anybody else has to say, welcome to do that or to hear the presentation.
But Dr. Fleming, I think, understand the reason we wanted to bring it to, so the county commissioners could observe it, is that it's very concerning to us to see the number of people running stops for school buses. And it's just, there's a lot of tickets that are not being approved, and did you bring some of those?
I did.
Okay, and what we want you to see is how dangerous it is in our county with this, and I can speak for most of the board, I think we want to continue this because it does bring awareness to it, at least. We are making a positive move.
I will say these are by far the best cameras we've ever had on these buses, and I don't want to lose them, to be honest with you. And we could not afford to outfit all our buses without a program like this or money from the county. And I'm going to show you some videos. I agree with some of the ones that get declined, and some of them I don't agree with. I know the sheriff's department reviews them, they know more what the judge will, throw out versus what I just, but, I'll just let the video speak for themselves. And I'll try to cut this short and sweet.
One second. Before y'all go, oh my gosh, where did all that money come from? Bus Patrol actually provides the cameras on the buses. We absorb that amount. So it isn't like, oh my God, we paid all this, where did we get this money from? We actually absorb that installment on these buses ourselves. So please, for the people who are not too familiar with it, please note that your county did not have to pay that money up.
And I received phone calls from citizens who received citations, upset because they got a citation, $450, $700. And say, we're just in it for the money. No, I'm in it for the safety issue. So just so you know.
And I appreciate Ms. Parker saying that. This, you'll have to replay that in a second, because I do want to make it clear. This is not a money-making situation. The amount of money that's collected from the fines is going to pay for the cameras, so yeah.
I'm trying to let the media speak for themselves. That was a close call. That child never saw it until the bus driver said something to me. I don't know if he had earbuds in or what. Everybody see that?
Yeah, I was talking.
Yeah, back that one up. Yeah.
This one has since been moved to door side only. You guys see how close that was. And this one, the person is actually waving to the bus. If I had audio, the bus driver said she just got a ticket.
And these are all citation issued. I want you to know these folks got tickets.
Yes.
Right. If you'll see, these are pretty clear.
Like I said, I'm gonna let the media speak for themselves, and the children do cross the road there. That's on Highway 421. This one could not wait.
Tell two by the same. You can tell where's that by the same. Clay or that.
I'll get to the declines in just a minute. If you guys look, right here indicates the amber light's on, and when it changes to red, that's when the red warning lights come on. And the kids end up across the road. This one's not in Harnett County, but this is one we share. It's in North Carolina. And just how close this is. Might need to speed this one up because it's a little ways down the road.
This is
Right. This is all rest of them ours. This is on the dual roads. Just to show you how close that is, this is interior. I went too far, sorry. No, this is the next one.
You're right.
Yes,
If I understand right, you're issuing a civil citation and not a uniform traffic citation.
that's correct. There's no.
Well, in this particular one,
Well,
they
this one.
pulled the civil for a criminal.
Yeah, we turned this over.
But as a general rule,
Correct.
so they're not even getting points on the driver's license, they're just paying a monetary fine.
Right, that's correct.
Here we go.
There it is.
Girls like that. Right, skip ahead to the,
Yeah. This one was a stolen vehicle, I didn't see that, how fast they come by. The person did receive a citation because it was reported stolen. This one's, these were the declined ones.
these were all declined, yeah. That's probably the biggest one I got an issue.
The lights are blinking yellow, telling you
Like I
to
said,
buzz.
yellow light indicates.
That one was quick.
Like I said, I agree with some, but some I do not. The red car was declined here.
This is
Stops and not polluted. I will say this is a good training tool too, when we see drivers doing something improper. But
Yeah, and I think when I look at some of these too, where you can see the driver clearly threw that red on quick and a car can't stop. I think sometimes with me, just, and I know I've told the school board this, but the commissioners too, there's a difference where if you were going the speed limit, you would have had plenty of time to stop. But going 50, 60 miles per hour, you wouldn't have time to stop. So to me, that's sort of a double issue, but instead they're getting turned down because, you know, so the key is to make sure you speed through them so you don't get the ticket.
You know, some of that, Chris, you can chime in about it, about there's a distance, because I'm still learning North Carolina law. I'm from Virginia, sorry. But my family's from North Carolina. But I got assigned Harnett County beginning of, end of March as one of my LEOs to assist with. There's some that, when it comes to distance, I worked for Newport News Police Department for over 27 years as a master police officer. In my last couple of years, I actually was a approver of this. It's very interesting, and I worked with Crash Team to see the distance between how actually they have per second. And I know you're going, this is Virginia law, this is not North Carolina law, I apologize. But in Virginia, there's actually a code saying that even if all the systems fail on the bus, it's still the responsibility of the driver to stop. With what I've seen with different things with North Carolina is sometimes, and again, it's sometimes what the judge is seeing or the panel is seeing or, what the officer's seeing. The yellow light's still on the top left-hand corner, but you have the sign all the way completely out. Each jurisdiction does their thing. Same with Virginia. There's some people in a big county, city, that would definitely not be approved. To me, and where I came from, it would be approved every day. Keep in mind, we've had 2 law enforcement officers, actually a major and a lieutenant for y'all's jurisdiction to approve. We had just lost Major Wilson, so it's down to Lieutenant Miller now. So I actually have some stats of how many were looked at for the year for y'all. When I came to learn about bus patrol while I was an officer, I was like, how many can we actually have? People don't run school buses that much. Like Newport News is near Fort Eustis, it's a big city. They had 350 buses. The first year, and it wasn't even a full year, and I say calendar year, from March 15th to December 31st of 2021, there were over 23,000 videos watched. In that jurisdiction, 22,000 approved. So I actually have the numbers here for their approvals. Keep in mind, this also tool is not just to show what the public's doing wrong, but also where we can improve ourselves as well as the bus drivers and transportation. So having these cameras actually, helps everybody work together. I have some statistics, hopefully. Unfortunately, I'm getting old, so I have to have my glasses.
Ryan, while she's looking that up, how many citations do you average a year? Or how many of these violations are there a year? Not how many citations are being issued?
I'm sorry, I'm deaf this year.
How many violations are you recording a year?
Not the actual citations,
But recording,
Yeah.
but for approvals for y'all's county, I do not have that, but I do have the other numbers of where they're looking.
How many citations are being issued a year?
For bus patrol in total? Give me 1 second, let me.
I know she has some of these.
This is some information reference from August 1st of last year to on the 10th of this month. You see citations reviewed, 3,586.
Oh, is that since it's been started or?
No, just this school year. This school year. Citations approved, 1,660. Approval rate is 46.3. The ticket mailed are a little bit different because they are carried over ones for different prior to this date, so they're getting mailed out. This actually shows you your top 10 locations that you have the most. But I can pull up that information after I done with this and get that, sorry, I have food poisoning, I apologize. I will get that information for you.
Just for my clarification here, the 1,657 citations that y'all went, okay, they have choice, they can either pay those or appeal it to who?
The appeals board committee of Harnett County. Appeals board.
Okay. And from there, the district court?
If they want to appeal again, yes.
Okay. I was just trying to picture in my mind the process. And what's the average these people are having to pay?
400 for the first ticket, 750 for the second, 1,000 above, or 1,000 for the third and subsequent ones.
Okay.
And do we have many repeat offenders?
Oh, yes. Matter of fact,
You're right, you want to give
here's
you
your
a number.
repeat offender list. This is right here. And it tells you how many repeat. It could be one from this month and did it again here or prior to, but yeah, we are having repeat offenders on this.
You were gonna give me a number on, if you could, on the ones that we didn't, that were not approved, to see if they violated again.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying?
I have disapprovals on how many were disapproved. And
All the repeat offenders were approved and then violated.
I know,
They're
but
always
how many were not approved and then violated again?
I don't have that number, but I'll see if I can find it though. But this actually breaks down, stop arm not fully deployed, you saw some of those, people unable to stop, improper activation of stop arm, which can be, didn't get enough time in yellow. It could be that there was no amber lights given and the sign automatically came out. There's violators, view obscured, obstructed, and bus stop off roadway. And we had one that I'm working on this within our department, reference to plates. I have it going every week, do a wellness check on my end for my officers to make sure that the plates are getting read correctly. If they're not, get it fixed and make sure it's correct and resubmitted for the approvals.
I've seen the plates read, the inaccurate plates when it's like dark outside and you can't tell which state it is. It'd be a whole different state, but assuming, I guess, North Carolina. That's been a big thing I've seen.
But, I mean, there's a small percentage of them
Just small
that actually read them. Okay.
And just in the same calendar year that I mentioned before, and again, this is not a money-making, this is a safety issue. Okay, for all the different jurisdictions that have it. Before the payments made to bus patrol, out of these violations, there was $426,503 generated for Harnett County. It was $426,503
But we did not I wanna make clear, that was on the split generated, but with the, Mr. Appel, technology fee, with the technology fee, thank you. Harnett County does not see any revenue to the program. I think that's very important to say that, cause I think there are people that think we're over here making millions of dollars off of this. We got whatever it is, $2.5 million in cameras, is all we have gotten so far out of this program. And they're great, and so I don't wanna mislead anybody.
Yeah, and follow up on that, any revenue that comes in, we get invoiced and have to turn around and pay bus patrol for that.
Yeah, I just wanna make, I love bus patrol, but I want us to be very transparent in how we talk about this.
Also, this is not just the outside cameras, it's indoor cameras, it's
That's
the
right.
camera on the side.
Right.
So it's not just the enforcement part.
That's right, absolutely.
You've got
We love the
these
cameras.
security cameras inside the buses, on the side of the buses. Unfortunately, where I worked at, we had people, adults, trying to get to the bus drivers to assault them. We had sexual assaults occurred on the buses, student on student. So those are actually been provided to law enforcement to help with their investigations. I am not familiar with any that have happened down here, but thank God. But there's so much these cameras can be used for the safety of the children.
And I will say, they get used on a daily basis, it's not necessarily at every school every day, but there's a school somewhere looking at interior cameras every day, and it's a big tool, helpful tool for these school admins. And a lot easier to afford than the old ones.
You're right, that bus 20 and 238, are those on 87, I assume?
20, I want to say is Highway 210, that will not be 87. 238 is 87.
Okay. So you can see by the bus and the route of the bus, which ones are hitting the highest and where they're at in the county.
And it isn't like, hey, we're just putting cameras on the spots that have the most possibilities of violations. You know, y'all have 151 buses and 151 buses have cameras on. So it isn't fishing. It's for everybody's protection, no matter where they live at in the county. How rural or in the city, or, you know, everybody has that protection.
It's not just on a route bus, it's on spare buses. Spare buses get used more than a route buses.
All right, any further questions? Thank y'all for mentioning it. There's no further business, I'll entertain a motion.
Oh, I got one thing, then we'll be finished. At our last board meeting, the commissioners will appreciate hearing this too. I just need to clarify, this was some legal advice given to me here. We need to clarify, I believe we said, the last day of school was May 31st. It's actually, the last day of school is May 29th. That is the half day. We've clarified that on the webpage with the calendar and all that, but the last day of school is May 29th, and that is a half day. That's also, I believe, the first day of graduation.
All right.
First day of graduation.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
But there's no, it's just a discussion, there's no.
We don't have to do it?
No action, no.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanna say is if any of our commissioners or county officials would like to come to one of our graduation events, please let Mr. Jermaine White know, he'll get tickets for you. They're free, but you do need a ticket to get in, that's part of the security protocol. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I have seconds. Motion is second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Hardin County School Board adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion has been made, properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. That's how you.